What's up, guys? Paddy McDonald here, your host of Leaders with Heart. Thank you for joining me. And today I'm so excited to be speaking with Nichole Hamilton, the Kidz Coach. Now, Nichole is someone who I respect massively because she has gone through years of serious drug addiction, struggling against this, but also choosing to use that as the catalyst for some of the deepest levels of self-growth and transformation that is possible in this existence. And through going in and learning to love all the shadows, all the parts of herself that she previously didn't accept, she's been able to then take that level of radical self-love and share that love with those around her, including her clients. And she now helps thousands of kids across the world to really navigate some of life's biggest challenges. And I find this really interesting because as adults, a lot of us go back and do the healing to trace our problems today back to the root causes from childhood trauma or just anything that might have happened to us. And Nichole's actually decided to go to the root cause of the problem and help kids live as things come up. So I respect this approach massively. I respect and love Nichole massively. She's an amazing human being, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this conversation. So check it out. Let us know what you think, and looking forward to speaking to you all soon. Much love.
So here today with Nichole Hamilton, the Kidz Coach, and a really good friend as well, and super excited to drop into what's no doubt going to be a beautiful conversation and story about your life, Nichole, and how you've come into this journey of supporting kids in being their best selves, and obviously why that's important for anyone listening today when people are on their own journey as adults. Like, we can relate it to the kids in our lives, but also all of us were kids at one stage as well. So really excited to hear from you about the intersection of this business journey and the personal journey you've been on to get here as well. But welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Paddy. I've been really looking forward to this. I always love dropping into your energy, so super excited to see where this conversation takes us. Good questions. I might start with my why to, working with kids, because I actually didn't realize it until this year. And I've been on personal development kind of growth for the last 12, 13 years myself. But this year it really dropped in when I had an inner child healing. And I was like, because if you'd asked me 10 years ago, would I work with kids? I'd be like, hell no, I only like my own. But, I want to be that person for the 7-year-old Nichole who was lonely, who didn't realize that she was worthy. Like I moved schools and I started people pleasing and gossiping and lying and had all these strategies because I didn't feel safe and I didn't feel seen and I didn't have the right friends or environment. And, it starts at a really young age, cultivated mostly from school environment, can be home as well. And for me, if I can be that, that human being for somebody else to tell them that especially the youth, that they're loved and seen and worthy and they've got this, then that's what I'm meant to do. And I only realized that because it was, the 7-year-old me that really needed that. Yeah. And, I've been on this journey for like a really long time. And the reason that I started coaching and personal development was because I was a very unhappy lady in my 20s and 30s. I was a drug addict. I was addicted to ice, and I tried multiple normal in quotation marks avenues to get sober. I tried the doctors and psychologists and the drug and alcohol counseling programs, and nothing worked. And as the universe obviously had its idea, it dropped this beautiful healer in my presence, and he was a wizard of a man. And I filled out an email to actually apply for a session, and I told him I wanted to quit smoking, and I didn't tell him it was ice until I rocked up on the day because I was deeply ashamed. And in that one session of energetic and hypnotic ranting and clarity and diving into my own soul work, I came out with this internal click of sobriety and light and total change to where my life was going to go. And I haven't stopped studying since. It was in those realms of study, though, that it just always dropped into me. I'm a mama bear. I've got 3 kids now myself, but at the time I had 2. And every time I learned this, whether it was a language game or a hypnotic spin or a timeline or your ego, your shadow self, I was like, wow, can make that a game for kids. Give me some chalk, give me some hula hoops, give me some colors. And for me, it always downloaded to then reenact or play it and teach it to kids. And yeah, I kind of got a name here in Adelaide to be the hypnotherapist or the coach that work with kids. And I just get out the way and they bring it to me. And I've only ever worked with kids that pick me, which is beautiful. I let them interview me and pick me. And when you get there, yes, you can do anything in these sessions. So I guess that's kind of a backwards way of talking about me as to my why. But yeah, through addiction and pain, I came to personal development. Through personal development, it showed me how to share it with kids. And through that, I've developed my own company now, which I'm super proud of, and teach others how to bring this mission that I want to light to help in all avenues.
Yeah, amazing. So what I'm hearing from that story is that, like, you, like most other humans, but in your own way, had a very significant journey with your own pain. And as an adult, that was starting to show up in the form of addiction and probably some other ways as well. And when you trace that back, it all stemmed from your childhood, is what you're saying. And then in no doubt a much more extensive way than I'm describing it right now, it actually led you to then decide to help kids, like actually from a preventative approach rather than like often in healing and therapy and things like that, we're going back to our childhood to heal things 20, 30, 40 years later. You thought, just let's get in at the source.
Help them now. If I help that 7-year-old that was lonely, I mean, we're all still going to have our own journeys, and we're all still going to have our healings and our little T's and big T's. And for those that don't know, that's traumas, like, you know, little ones and big ones. But if we can be that role model, and we do need a community, like, you know, it takes a lot to raise beautiful humans. And, you know, I use this example a lot. Like, if my mum tells me she's proud of me or she loves me or even asks me to do something, they have this wall up. I literally, like, my eyes roll back. I'm like, oh, Mum. But if you asked me to do something, I'd be like, sure, Patty. Or if you said, oh, I'm proud of you, Nichole, I'd be like, oh, Patty's proud of me. And so we need other humans that are not related to our children to be that beautiful role model and say, hey, how about you try it this way? Or, oh my God, I see you. I'm so proud of you. And that lights them up in a different way. And in the same token, when a child picks me to be their guide, and I'm, you know, obviously not related to them, my whole nervous system lights up and I could cry, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to serve at any capacity, all human beings, and, you know, everyone has their own light, but that's mine. Like, when a kid picks me and I just know that I'm here on their little journey to make that difference in their emotional state, in their soul work.
Beautiful, super powerful stuff, and I definitely want to dive into that a little bit more, but I think first it'd be great to just actually paint a bit more of the holistic picture of you as a human as well. And you know, you mentioned that you've now turned this into a business, and you know, a lot of the listeners may have their own businesses or maybe leading a business in some description. How has this journey now unfolded for you in business, now that you're actually you know, teaching other people how to coach kids as well, and starting to expand your impact beyond the initial stages of how it started?
Yeah, good question. I'm a very confident person, so show me something, I can do it. So I started, you know, off at the tax office, and then beauty, and, you know, all these skill sets that I have just kind of come naturally. Show me how to do it, I can do it. And so when I started learning, well, when I went through that powerful sobriety healing, I was like, I need to learn this. And so when I started learning, I just did the groundwork. I was like, okay, I'm learning hypnotherapy now. Give me a client. So I just kept putting myself out there. So I've literally done, since 2014, thousands and thousands of hours of coaching, some for free, some for, you know, barely any money, some for, you know, a lot of money now. And I just continued to build on that skill set. And then there were times that I lost my way. Like, I literally did. I went and worked in the prisons, and I worked back in beauty, and I worked, you know, had other jobs. So my entrepreneurial journey was up and down, up and down. Sometimes I had money, sometimes I didn't. And it wasn't until probably 4 and a bit years ago that I really committed and got my own coach, that I started really progressing and found my mission and my why. And I was like, oh my God, what lights me up? And so I firmly believe that you have to come from your heart space, from your alignment, to then make it, you know, I'm so multi-skilled. I can do 1,000 things. But when I work with kids, I'm in my genius. I'm in my place. And this is where my business has now got to. I've changed from a sole tradership to a company. I have employees. I've grown because I'm living in alignment. And now I've then gone, but because I've done that work, like I continually showed up not only for my own healings and my own inner work, but I did the groundwork of so much coaching and working with people. I work with couples and drug addicts and kids and everything else. I can now then fully stand in my truth and say, I know how to coach you into working with your own niche. Like, what is that? Because there's only one of me. And I got so busy. I was like, well, there needs to be more. There needs to be more people. And there are hundreds of thousands of coaches out there. And apparently 80% fail. I only got this stat the other day. So why would I not be calling in those people and go, hey, have you thought about using that skill set that you have that is so brilliant and bring it to the families and the kids that actually need it? And look at that thing. So that's where my passion and skill set has come to. So why do I go from working one-to-one to training many? To really making that impact even more, and which is why it's so important to be on these podcasts and talking about it, because that is literally what I want to do. I want the coaches to think about where else they can grow in business.
Amazing. Yeah. And I heard something in there which I'd love to clarify or for you to validate if it's right or not. What I heard is that, you went from this journey of starting out as a solopreneur or a sole trader, working on your own. Now you've got employees and you're also training other coaches in their own businesses and really expanding that impact. And what I heard you say was along the lines that you needed to have the self-belief and the self-worth and the alignment to your true, what lights your heart up, to be ready to expand it out beyond that one person. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I believe that continually showing up and doing the work, and it doesn't matter if it's, as I said, the groundwork of coaching friends for free or, helping other people, or then also working on myself. I think it's both important. I think that you just have to keep going. I guess that's the point of that. Like, I've done it in so many different ways. And so if I got knocked back, and as I said, I did many a times, my businesses weren't making money, but I continued to show up and try. And so that led me to now. And I'm so grateful that it did. I honestly thought I was going to go work in the prisons. I had my heart set of being a prison warden. And I got this no. And I was like, damn. And I really, I wanted it so bad. And now I'm got this beautiful business. And the universe was like, no, Nichole, you're meant to work with kids. So, I have a deep love for human beings. I have a deep love for humans, and I am multifaceted and I, love that. But yeah, when I worked on that deeper why, that deeper, what lights you up? Because I do have a lot of skills, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs do. And sometimes when we put our energies so out there, then nothing's really getting done. And so I really believe that, by coming back and finding that true heartfelt why, and that my nervous system lights up when I work with kids, that's what's made me successful now.
And
that alignment.
How did you find that why? It's something that we all know is important. The coach helped you? Was there any methods or key kind of questions that you journeyed with that helped you land on that why? Obviously condensing a massive
for me, it's heart. Talking to your heart. That's probably the simplest way of describing it. But again, it's the work. So some people that might sound silly too. They might not, believe in hard work. I am an empath, so I am very in tune with my body and the senses in it. And I can literally feel, as I said, I cry with happiness when a kid picks me. My whole nervous system lights up, with tingles and chills, and I know. And so I got that full body yes for me. And so if somebody's listening to this and they don't know what's a full body yes, it's a practiced work. Our body does send us messages. And we, I guess for me, when I had anxiety and I knew I was going to go buy drugs, but I wanted them anyway, that was my body telling me a no. That's a full fuck no, but I did it anyway. There's so many times that people don't listen to their yes and no's. And for me, it's continually listening to the yes, even when it doesn't make sense. Because I didn't really understand, honestly, until this year, my why. I knew that I loved working with kids. I knew that I was good at it. I knew that I got the downloads and I could play the games and I had the skill set. But I didn't know that my inner child was still pining for this coach until this year.
Wow.
And here I am now, probably 4 to 5 years in of this work.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, incredible. And so, just curious about the what appears on the surface like a paradox between the potential work in prisons, working with kids. You spoke a bit about addiction, and like I can feel, and it's really obvious how much light you have, shining out of you as well, and just who you are as a person. And
Thank you.
like, do you feel you're able to speak to that a little bit, just in terms of the light and the shadow in your life and how they've all played their part?
Yeah. I believe that I created my darkness to grow and learn, like something I've known. Like I have beautiful parents, and so I know my mum and dad. Parents blame themselves anyway. It's kind of a parental thing. It wasn't them. Like there was no big, it was a beautiful family that I grew up in. We all have our own shit as well, but it's a beautiful family. And I feel like I got married very young. Like I found my first soulmate when I was 16, but I was still very unhappy with who Nichole was. So I created this darkness of addiction to learn. And it was a messy thing. It was on and off for many, many years. My ex was involved in that world as well, and so it was very hard. And in like my 30s, I chose it. Like I literally chose it. I remember the moment my granddad died, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do drugs every day. And I did for quite a few years. But inside my soul still spoke to me, and it's like, I want to be sober. And I remember smoking that disgusting ice pipe, wrapping Christmas presents one year, thinking, I hate this. I don't want to be doing this, because my energetic field was so blocked and so disconnected, and what was going on the inside, it was a numbing mechanism to survive, really. And then fast forward a year later, I was doing the exact same thing. I was like, fuck, like what is going on? And I was looking behind the scenes in these counseling and programs, and it wasn't working. And thank God that the universe, sent me this beautiful man, Luke, and I tapped into my soul and what my soul needed for that internal click, that soul work, that energy work. It shifted so much. I still had problems. I had to go through a divorce. I went through anxiety. I went through withdrawals. I went through a lot of pain to get to where I am. And I've had a few relapses as well along the way. But I show up and I speak with vulnerability, and I tell my kids about it. And I be a role model for other parents and people going through similar things. But that shadow work, I hid her, and the addiction came out in other ways later on into business. Like I was crazy into business and neglecting my family, and I was crazy into food, and I was like, oh, well, at least I'm not taking drugs, but I'm getting fat. My addiction came out in many ways, and I really learned to love her as well, I think, in the last 2 years, because that addiction, that part of me, she's beautiful, and she kept me safe. She kept me from not dying. She numbed me out. She found ways. She was fucking crafty and sneaky and great liar and all sorts. But she's actually a really feisty motherfucker, and she kept me safe. She kept me from not dying. So I really love that as part of me. But a lot of people hide their shadow self because they have deep shame about it, and that can come in other traumas and abuse and different things. But that darkness in us does bring out the light, and together, when they play together, like we stand out in the sun. I've got a beautiful shadow out there.
Yeah,
it's great to play with.
Wow, I love that. And what seems obvious to me when you share that as well is just how safe a kid would feel with you. Because maybe I feel like, in at least my belief, and I feel it's common in society, is that adults can be either good or bad, which is not my conscious belief, but it's still in there under the surface. There's a possibility for an adult to be a bad human. But with kids, I think we can be very much more clear on the fact that all kids are really blank canvases, and they'll have this purity, this innocence inside of them. But as a kid grows up and they start to exhibit different traits that might start to get labeled by society as bad or negative or whatever it happens to be, that must be challenging for a kid to be faced with in the world. And having someone like you who is able to really love all parts of yourself and therefore love all parts of another, especially a kid, must be a real gift and a real safety for that kid. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, thank you. Beautiful reflection. And yes, I believe that my superpower is unconditional love. You know, I love everybody, even people that have triggered me and hurt me. I always come back to that place of love, and I do love every single human in a capacity. And love is a sliding scale, obviously. That's how I interpret it, intimate and different levels and family and the rest. But I do have a beautiful capacity to love every human that comes into my world. And by being that, kids pick up on that energy, that safe energy. And by me being also so real and honest, they can be able to be real and honest. And I don't like the labels good and bad or naughty and whatever. And I have worked in education. A human is just a human, and they need to be able to feel safe enough to express themselves. And when they can express themselves in a safe manner, we can then unpack so that they can behave in ways that they're proud of. So it's not about the disability or the label or the ADHD or the naughty or whatever. It's not about that. It's about actually, well, hang on a sec. What is actually going on with you? Yeah. Where did that come from? And so being out of them, because I have, expressed and done that work, I can really hold space and teach other parents to look at it from that way, or teachers even, because we only know what we know. I'm a better mother from doing this work. I parent Aurora so differently than I did my older kids, but even my older kids, like, I can have these beautiful relationships with because I've done that work, and I'm opening them up to these conversations.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And so, like, this is obviously applicable to how we deal with adults as well as how we deal with kids.
Of course.
And the question I have next is, how do you apply this in your business life? Like, when you are leading others, whether it be you're coaching someone or whether it be you've got an employee that you want to foster into the best version of themselves, how do you apply this same concept?
I really love to just tap into that person and see them and hold space for them and feel them, and then ask them the right questions. That everybody's got the innate wisdom inside of them. But being a good coach is really helping that person reflect back to them what they can't see in themselves. And that's what it is. I'm holding space for anybody and reflecting back to them. I see you, I feel you, I know this and this. And, what support do you need? Where can we take you? What goals do you want? What hasn't worked for you before? Asking all these right questions for the kids, for the adults, for the friendships that I have now. I can see you're really triggered right now. Do you need some space, or can I hold space for you? These things are not taught in education or to the families, and so bringing it to life now makes it so important. And so I guess I use this beautiful language and this heart space in everything that I do.
Yeah, love that. And the question that comes up for me as someone, like, when I'm leading another adult, or in the future when I'm parenting, I guess in any situation really, is applying this concept of unconditional love. It feels great in theory, but when it comes down to, like, I can unconditionally love my child at home, but then they've got to go out into the world, and they'll be met with certain reactions to how they behave as well. And whether even if I'm able to hold the unconditional love for them, regardless of what they do, I'm still going to have a preference of how they actually show up and what they do in the world, and that they don't act out of alignment with their values and probably my values as well. Even if I could hold unconditional love for my child committing a crime or hurting someone else, which I hope that I could, it doesn't mean that I want them to do it, right? So
correct.
How do we merge those two and still help guide them in the right direction, but also...
Well, it's the same as, so say your baby goes to daycare and she's only 2 and she starts biting people. You're not going to hold unconditional love for her, or you're biting people. That's out of my values. You just do. It's a thing, and you can articulate your wants and desires and unpack from right down from, from all sorts of, I deal with the nth degree as well. I deal with families and kids that have got, people in jail for all sorts of crimes. Yeah. And, you can love somebody unconditionally because they are your family or your part of you, but that does not mean that you have to accept them in your life to sometimes to that degree, or you can set boundaries and very clear things. But I always promote honesty. The only thing that would ever upset me is somebody's dishonesty. And that can even just be like, hey, I can't talk about that. Cool, I'm not going to pry. With my teenager, there's been some situations come up and he like gets nervous and I'm like, mate, I'm never going to be angry at you. I am going to support you. Doesn't necessarily mean I agree with the decisions you're doing, but I know what I was like as a teenager, and I snuck around and did this thing and this thing and this thing. And there's a few stories that we could go into. And I don't want that for my kids. I want them to know that they can call mum, and I could call my mum. She'd come and get me no matter what. But I want a deeper, open, honest communication with them to talk about drugs and addiction and sex and all sorts, because I can hold that confidentiality. I can not judge them on it. I can then help them unpack it, ask the right questions, and hold that safe space. And if it's too personal, they don't want to talk about it, then it's a pass. A pass from that conversation, mum. But there's never a dishonesty. There's never a lie about it. And so there's always unconditional love, because they have to go through their own journey. Kids are always going to have decisions and strategies that are probably not in alignment with who they are, but it's how we learn, right? So yeah, just knowing that I continually show up in all my truth and all my mistakes as well, and that shows them that gives them more safety. I don't know if you grew up in a family or if you ever had parents fight or adults fight or something, and then they're like, don't worry about it, you're a kid, or it doesn't matter. And you're like, that makes you feel more unsafe. I just want to know. Or actually, can I tell you, like, I'm actually really grumpy with your dad, or but it's okay. We're discussing that. We're going to be okay. We just need a little bit of space right now, or whatever. Just articulate that to your kids. That's so important, because the unsafety, the things that go on in our heads when we feel unsafe, wires in our nervous system. So I always believe it's one of my top values is honesty at the right level with the right amount of information.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell 2-year-olds I was a drug addict. It's not important. But I'm going to tell the teenagers if I'm allowed to.
Yeah. Interesting. What I'm also hearing in your share there is a great sense of trust that the person will choose the right path for themselves, given the right environment to flourish in. It's almost like a gardening metaphor, right? Of like, you have the right conditions for them and give them that safety to work through what they need to work through, and they won't need to be like forced in a certain direction. They can blossom on their own.
Lead by example. You got to go first.
Yeah, love that.
Got to go first.
Love that.
Yeah.
Have there been any great leaders that have really inspired you over the years, that have helped you become who you are?
Oh, many. I guess it's are we talking famous or personal?
Whatever feels good to you.
Well, the ones that come to mind, definitely Paul Alicio, who is my hypnotherapy coach here in Adelaide. Like, he is an amazing leader, business owner, entrepreneur. But the way that he articulates and gets into your head is just an amazing coach. One of my dear friends, and somebody that I can call upon a lot. So definitely shaped the language and the way that I became a coach to start with.
So if you could sum up any examples you give in like one or two key attributes or words.
Okay. So his linguistics, amazing. Taught me so many linguistics, Paul Alicio. I would say my beautiful best friend, Crystal, taught me boundaries and consent, and really like seeing a human in all their stuff and really loving them exactly as they are. So she is a self-love coach. She's amazing. Really taught me different ways to show up in friendships and energetics, which is super powerful. Beautiful. One of your best mates, Ryan, he became a coach to me, and I met him through my best mate, Crystal. He's been a coach of mine for many years and has taught me to really discern, and I didn't even know what that word meant when I met him, but discern what my heart's desires are and really speak to heart, because it's part of my soul. So that's that deep work where you said that knowing. He was the one that actually held space for me to find my alignment. But then, Brene Brown, amazing coach. Tony Robbins was one of the first philosophers and coaches, NLP, that I came across, very inspiring. I listen to a lot. And Ashley Bynes here in Australia, I love her. I'm following her for years. She's grown as a fitness guru into a holistic coach as well. So, there's just a few that drop in.
Yeah, amazing. Now that you've really clarified your why and landed in that on a whole new level, what's next? Where do you want to take your business and the impact that you're bringing to the door?
I'm laughing because I said it before to the lady I just had a sales call with. I said world domination. And like, not in a bad way. I literally do aspire to be like Tony Robbins on a world stage. Like, I want to be in front of thousands of people talking about personal development for kids, and I want it to be a tidal wave of, oh my God, yes, kids coaching, like, hello. So I really believe that this message is true and strong. So bringing in all these coaches that are going to bring this passion and learning and healing to our kids while they're going through it, because I just envision, my 7-year-old where she would have been in her 20s rather than where I was. And if you imagine your future kids like going through personal development, where they'll be as human beings, and then imagine those human beings alongside of that, what would the world look like in 20 years or 10 years even, with beautiful, deeply vulnerable, connected human beings that can articulate their emotions and needs and requests on this level? Because not all people speak like this, right?
Yeah.
Imagine that. The whole world will shift, the whole universe.
Yeah.
So bring it to the kids.
Powerful.
Bring it to the kids. Yeah.
Yeah. If there was one thing you could change about the education system, what would it be?
Scrap it. No, they need to bring in well-being as an actual whole core subject. Like it's sprinkled in there, but emotional regulation and deep work on emotional regulation is huge.
Okay.
So making that a priority, the mental health a priority in the schools.
And so for the big kids out there, the adults that maybe this is new to as well, how would you recommend people start down that path of working on that themselves?
Honestly, there's so much free podcast. Spotify. Get on Spotify. Just start listening. Don't like that voice, listen, skip to the next one. Get onto YouTube, whatever, and type in a few keywords of things that you want to learn. You're freaking out and having meltdowns. You got issues with anger. Cool. Listen to somebody who's been through that. You got addiction. Type it in. Start in the free stuff and let it lead you. And just ask. You don't have to even ask another human. I used to say ask for help. You can ask the universe. You say it out loud. I need help with this.
Yeah, wow.
It'll happen.
Wow. Yeah, what I'm hearing there as well is it's a mindset of leaning in and facing whatever it is people are struggling with as well. So it's as simple as putting it in Google or asking.
Put it in Google.
Ask ChatGPT. Yeah, amazing. You touched on something there as well about asking the universe and like really having that connection with something larger than yourself in that as well. And it's something that everyone's going to have their own relationship with in terms of what they believe in and what they believe is possible and all of this. So inviting anyone listening to take what they will from this, but also to keep an open mind about what's possible. But I know that you're someone who's very connected to these other dimensions and realms and ideas. Has there been anything in this area of your life that's really supported you, especially in business? When I say business, I'm talking about you bringing your impact into the world on the largest possible scale. What's been supportive to you from these other alternative realms?
I think that having that curiosity or open mind, like ask questions. If you don't believe it, that's okay. But for me, what dawned on me was, isn't it all the same? Like I might say universe and you might say Pachamama or Mother Earth, or I might say God. And I do believe that inner voice, that channeling really does come from God. But if I say God and you don't believe in God and you believe in the universe or science, then why don't you just use that word? For me, the feeling is the same. So don't get hooked up on a word. Find the right word for you. Go and find it, because there is a philosophy or a right thing, but for me, it's all the same. Once we start diving inside and working on that soul level, it doesn't matter to me if you call it God, the universe, intuition, spirit. For me, I think it's the same. And so I love challenging people. And, if you want to pray, you pray. If you want to meditate, you meditate. Isn't it the same? It's for me.
Yeah, love that. And what has been like really helpful for you?
Tapping into that God. Whew. so many ways. Sunshine,
Yeah.
grass, earthing, the beach,
Yeah.
coaches, heart healings, prayer, meditation. Yeah.
Amazing. So just taking a moment to pause and let's just tune into if there's any other messages or anything else, any other pieces that feel really alive for you to share with anyone listening today.
The one thing that just popped in was, that anybody can do anything. They do have the ability to change, even if they don't think that they can. Like, they're, however old they are 100% sure of getting through the hardest times of their life. For kids as well, I think John Lennon said every kid is an artist until they're told they're not. And that works for adults as well. Like, when did you ever get told you couldn't or shouldn't? Like, every single person, child or adult, can. It's just having that, switching that thing, ability. And I always knew I could get sober, but I didn't know how. So yeah, just being curious, like that is a big thing. Like, you absolutely can. It's just a when.
Beautiful. Love that, Nichole. So if people wanted to find out more about like how to work with you, or even just hear more of your message or anything else about what you do and who you are, where would they find you?
Yep, they'll find me at the Kidz Coach, like .com.au. So that's kids with a Z, by the way, Kidz Coach. But I'll add all my links. I do have a free program that I gift out to anybody if they want some free advice for parenting or working with kids. I have over 100 kids coaches across Australia that have worked with me and now do kids coaching in their own realm. Like I said, nurses, teachers, psychologists, counselors, all sorts of different people, chefs that do the work. So if you're not working with me, then I can also recommend. And yeah, I'll add all my links and my socials. I'm always jumping on, talking about something.
Beautiful. Any final messages or words to people listening today?
No, I feel complete. Thank you so much for having me. It was a beautiful conversation.
Being on here and sharing your beautiful personality and all of your lessons from the full spectrum of human experience. Definitely someone who, I feel very safe to be around because of that love that just radiates out from you. So really want to honor you as a leader in that space of authenticity as well. Like, you're such a unique, authentic person that has really allowed so many parts of yourself to come through. So it's a real pleasure to get to know you and to see that start to go on the path of world domination.
I'm gonna laugh. That's gonna stay in there. I'm gonna create that. But, thank you so much, Patty. It has been a beautiful conversation in so many little turns. Thank you for your questions. Beautiful.
Pleasure. Much love, everybody. Speak soon.
Yeah, much love.
Thanks for listening to Leaders with Heart today. We appreciate you taking the time to tune in. And if you found value in today's episode, we would appreciate it massively if you shared this with a friend or a colleague. This is something that can massively benefit their day. And I also appreciate it so much because in the early days of building a podcast, anything like liking, subscribing, giving it a 5-star review, it all supports me spreading this message and mission of leading with heart with as many people as possible. So much gratitude to you for being here. And if you want to connect, I also love hearing from you. You can find mine and the guests' social media details in the show notes below. Mine are pattymac.truth on Instagram and Leaders with Heart on LinkedIn. The website leaderswithheart.com.au is another place you can find me. But until next time, have a beautiful day and sending you so much love.